This John Smoltz edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast is brought to you by the SGPN merch store. Use promo code SGPN NBA to get 10% off everything in the store.
Hey, this is John Smoltz, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Cox. He's one of those guys who will get penetration.
Welcome everyone to the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, second the money green with my partner in picks, Ryan, Real Money Kramer. What's happening, Kramer?
Dog.
We are the true multi-sport athletes, Sean.
Yes, we are. We're all over the map. Just had an awesome interview with Jeremy Roenick. Make sure you check that episode out. Obviously, we got you covered with our picks episodes, XFL, NBA. We got you covered. And then SGPN Draft Week starts on Monday. We got our we're doing a live mock draft Wednesday night. Our live draft reaction show Thursday night. Couple more NFL props episodes. We have a NFL draft contest where we're giving away cash and a gift card exclusively. That's going to be for Discord only.
Really?
So sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. Get in now so you don't miss out on that. But today we're talking to John Smoltz, of course, Hall of Famer for the Atlanta Braves. Also a really dominant golfer. It's crazy how good John Smoltz sounds like he's good, legit good at every sport.
I mean, oftentimes when you hear guys tell stories of getting to play with Tiger, it's more of like an anecdotal, like charity.
Yeah,
case
like a
of
one-time thing. It sounds
you're
like
shaking in your boots the whole time. But I mean, as you'll hear, this is not that.
Normally when I hear these guys, oh, they're so good at this, they're so good at that sport, I don't like them. But John Smoltz came on the show, great guy and a lot of fun. Before we get to the interview, shout out to Underdog Fantasy. Again, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, perfect place to get down on some sweet player prop parlays over at Underdog Fantasy. And they have, again, daily games for MLB, NBA, NHL, and Best Ball Mania 2. Best Ball Mania, what is it, like 5?
4
is coming.
It's IV.
Best Ball Mania 4 is coming, aka fantasy football best ball drafts, aka the best way to play fantasy,
aka stick that IV in my veins.
There's going to be at least, I think, 2 million in prizes, if not more. You got to get your account set up. Underdogfantasy.com, promo code SGPN, 100% deposit match up to $100. Underdogfantasy.com, promo code SGPN. Joining us on the line, Hall of Famer John Smoltz. John, thanks for calling in, man. Appreciate it.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, anytime. Of course, you are playing this weekend in the Invited Celebrity Classic. You can catch that over on the Golf Channel. I see you're rocking a Masters polo. I was doing a little research on you, and I saw a story that you actually got to play Augusta with Tiger Woods on a Sunday. Obviously not in the Masters, but what was that like?
So it was a blast. I played Augusta. Obviously, I live in Atlanta, so I played it more than a handful of times. But this one was special because it was about a month before the Masters. I was in spring training, and Tiger, we'd play a lot of golf, a lot of rounds together. And he called me up, I think Friday night. He said, "Hey, what are you doing Sunday?" And I'm like, "Well, I got to be at the park, I got to be at
technically have a game, but yeah. Well, what are you up to?"
And he said, "Well, wheels up, I think 6 a.m. I'll have you, and we're playing Augusta and Sunday pins. All the Sunday pins were going to be set up for him." And he said, "I'll have you back by 3 o'clock." And I said, "Just give me a day. I got to check. It's a light day for me. Maybe my manager will let me." Never thinking ever that this would happen. And so I go in. I asked everybody, did anybody make Bobby Cox mad? Is he in a good mood? And I circled the wagons, and then I went in and I said, I said, "All right, Bobby, here's the deal. I totally get it. I had to ask. I understand the answer is probably no, but here's the deal. Tiger offered to fly me up. I got a light day. What do you think to Augusta?" And he goes, "You know what, Smoltzy?" He said, "I'll see you Monday." And I just stared at him like, "Really?" And he said, "I'll see you Monday." So nobody found out, believe it or not. I was a little bit late getting to the plane. It was kind of like a foggy morning, and so my lateness, 30 minutes. I was on the horn on the phone trying to figure out where it was. Finally got on the plane, and we got there. Because everything was so tight, we couldn't hit any balls. So we went right to the first tee.
Oh no.
And I'm pumped. I mean, this is going to be a dream come true where you
Oh,
get
the
to play,
adrenaline, yeah.
and so I'm pumped. I piped the first one. I'm like bunker high in the middle of the fairway, and he hit his ball in the bunker. And so we're walking down the fairway, and he said, "This might be your day." I said, "You're darn right, it's going to be my day." And I proceeded to make a double bogey on that hole, and he proceeded to make par and shoot 66. I think I shot 76. But it was the most unbelievable round of golf I've ever watched. It was boring, actually, because there was nothing spectacular, but he knew every spot, every spec, where to hit it. And, you got a great perspective firsthand to see what TV can't show you. And I wanted to stay. I wanted to keep playing. But he did. He had me back by 3. The game was like in the 5th inning, and I went to my apartment, and next day showed up and really never said anything.
Well, and they say though it's the hills that get you. Like it's actually like the TV does not show you how much texture there is to that course. I mean, that's awesome. I was gonna say, if you're ever in Burbank, California, that I have the same knowledge of DeBell here, the municipal course. So if you ever want to play around.
Yeah, well, I'll probably shoot 76 on the front 9. That's usually a good score for me. Not 76 at Augusta. I mean, I think we're burying the lead. That's a pretty awesome round.
And the mental capacity to pipe a drive down the middle of the fairway with Tiger watching. I mean, even just. I mean, at that point, I would have ended the round. Like, all right, so it looks like
it's
I
not
did
gonna get better than this.
We'll just move on. Yeah, I mean, but that's where the pitching and the mental edge, I would imagine, in that constant one-on-one battle translates nicely to the golf game.
It does. There's some things though that I'm deficient in, and there's some bad thoughts that come into my mind every once in a while. And in a tournament, that I'm trying to eliminate that, and I still haven't found a way to eliminate it. The one good thing about baseball and pitching is if you make a mistake, you can atone for it right within the same at bat. Sometimes you make a mistake on a hole and it knocks you out of a tournament because you make a big number. So there's a lot of mental toughness stuff that I've tried to correlate and use, but I got too many different swings. I'm physically getting a little bit better. I got a new hip. I got one more on the way. And if I could just get to that point of confidence in my body, then I may not have as many of those wayward shots. But I love competing. I love learning. And it seems like every tournament I find myself doing the same thing over and over again. Slow first round, get after it the second round, and try to make that late charge in the third round.
Yeah, and for the Invited Celebrity Classic, they got a free pick'em game you can play. You're right up there. You're 5-1 to win it all. Marty Fish 4-1. Tony Romo 2-1. I'm an Eagles fan.
Oh, yeah.
Co-host Ryan here is a Giants fan. So we're every time we talk to these celebrity golfers, we're like, can you please beat Tony Romo? That's what we're rooting for. You gotta like your chances though. 5-1. You're hanging around. What's your scouting report on your fellow golfers there?
Well, they're really good, and they're a lot younger, and they bomb it. I'm 50. I'm going to be 56, but I can grind it out as long as the wind stays up. I think I've got a chance. I had 11 or 12 birdies in 2 days in the 2 pro-ams, and it gets you absolutely nothing. But today I had 4 3-putts, and that's the difference in my.
You got them out of the way.
I for whatever reason, I'm free in a pro-am, and I need to find a way to get free in a round that counts. So yeah, I'm kind of there. This is what I do every tournament. I kind of stay in the middle, 5 to 6, and then try to make a jump in the game, second round. But my putter let me down, and that's been hot. That's been the hottest part of my game lately. And the greens with all that rain yesterday slowed about 2 feet, and it took me a long time. Well, I never really got used to it. So there's my score.
No, that's the problem. Now you're speaking to the amateur golfer. It's the 3 putts.
Yeah,
that's the difference between.
They just add up, right? Because you have a couple good. I mean, for me, it's like
finish a round and count your 3 putts, and then you can always be like, all right, well that makes sense. That's why
that's
I was 6 strokes off.
that's
No
where
doubt.
things unravel there. Now I know you qualified at one point for the U.S. Senior Open. Do you ever consider going back, making another run, or where are you at with playing in the senior tour?
So once I get my second hip done, I want to see where I've got to, what I've got to do. I've got a lot more time than I did before. I was in the heat of MLB Network contract and Fox, squeezing golf when I could. Played hurt a lot. You know, I love the game of golf, so I'm not going to complain. If I'm hurt, I'm just going to deal with it. But it got to a quality of life thing. I'm so glad I got my left hip done. I can't wait to have my right hip done. That pain is nauseating when you're trying to figure out how to stay over the ball without swaying and just walking a golf tour. You talked about Augusta. I played Augusta a year ago, and I didn't think I could get to my car. That's how bad my hips hurt. So I would like to make one more run at qualifying, and just see what happens. You know, I still think I have enough length, but I got to sure up a few things around the green. That's where I'm losing my shots on the chipping and just some mental aggression without going too crazy with going for everything.
It just shows you how good these guys are, and it's awesome to hear someone talking about getting a hip replacement as a means to like make their sporting career advance.
Well, yeah, you got to love it. Like you think you retire from baseball, you're going to take it easy, but you're going gung ho for the next sport.
I get that feeling because when I first got into golf, I was like, "Oh, this is awesome! I'm just going to play every day and get better." And then you realize that you don't ever want to admit it to your friends, but like, my back is kind of you start you start with these kind of like incremental injuries.
I try to explain to my wife after golfing when I come home and I'm exhausted, and she's like, "You're just tired because you had 8 beers." I'm like, "Well, that was part of it, but also swinging a club, you know, for me, swinging over 100 times, and then you add in your warm up swings. I'm like, it's tiring." She doesn't believe me that it's all just the game itself. You started out like high school multi-sport athlete. I heard you said basketball was your first love. Did you think you had a shot to go pro in other sports? How did it work out that you kind of ended up on baseball?
Well, you know, growing up in Michigan, the seasons changed sports. I played football early on. I was quarterback, then baseball when it was baseball, and then basketball. Never played golf. That's the one thing I never did. And basketball was just something I just fell in love with. I love the strategy of it. I love to compete. Played in probably one of the best leagues. You know, I played in the league that Magic Johnson, Jay Vincent, and those guys came through in Lansing, Michigan.
Oh yeah.
And I was going to go to Michigan State, and they were going to let me try to play both, play basketball and baseball. I'd love to see how that would have worked out. 6'3" point guard loves to pass before he shoots, but I can shoot, so I could do a little bit of both. I was a free throw specialist, so get me on the line late in the game. That was kind of why I made my
sounds
money
like a guy we'd want to bet on in March
yeah.
Madness, Ryan.
Reliable.
A guard who hits his free throws. Let's go.
Exactly. And so, you know, I played in an all-state all-star game in the summer. And I realized, I told my dad, I said, okay, when I'm going up against Glenn Rice, Roy Marble, BJ Armstrong, Lloyd Vaught, Mark Hughes, when 7 NBA players that end up in my class, I couldn't stop BJ Armstrong. I couldn't stop Andre Rison, who was a great football player, obviously, but a great basketball player. So that dedication would have taken a lot more. And my dad made the right decision, wouldn't let me play football past 7th grade or 8th grade because of, you know, my right arm was pretty dynamic, so I could throw a football and I could throw a baseball.
That's our moneymaker.
But I don't think I could have taken a hit I would have been the guy. Literally would have been the guy with the most touchdowns and the most interceptions, because I don't think I would have thrown it away.
Well, if only you came around nowadays, they don't hit the quarterbacks anymore.
That's true.
You'd have been fine.
That's true.
Could have had a long career. Well, you mentioned we're talking multi-sport athletes. Of course, you got to play with Deion Sanders. What was that like playing with Deion? And now he's made the transition to coaching, kind of out of nowhere here, coaching a big program in Colorado. What are your thoughts on Deion in moving to Colorado there?
Deion's one of the greatest teammates I've ever had. I love Deion. I know prime time and all that, the self advertising and all that went on. He was a great teammate. He was beyond belief talented, obviously. one of the stories I always tell, Steve Avery, believe it or not, I was actually pretty fast. I was the official pinch runner early in my career.
Well,
For,
how
as a
many
pitcher.
career stolen bases? We were watching
I
some
have a
stolen
few.
base
I have a
highlights.
few.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
91 NLCS. Don't sell yourself short.
Yeah.
Stole a base off a Gold Glove catcher. Let's
Yeah.
go.
It wasn't a pretty slide. I thought I could go in standing up, and at the last minute I slid.
You had the
Didn't look
jacket
pretty.
on.
Had the jacket on, had the parachute working, slowed me down a little bit.
Wind
But
resistance.
Deion Sanders gave me and Steve Avery a 20-yard head start in a 60-yard dash. And we were like, you ain't gonna beat us. 20 yards is a lot. No chance.
Wow.
I mean, no chance. He would have been one of the greatest leadoff batters to ever play the game if all he did was play baseball. Obviously, he shut down the entire side of the football field where nobody else has been able to do that quite like him. And from his transition now to coaching, I just don't think it's going to be any different. He believes what he believes. He's a pretty big time motivator, to say the least, and I think he's going to get that program rocking. I would not ever bet against Deion Sanders, and we had so much fun back in the day. Believe it or not, this was the game of choice. Do you guys remember Tetris with the Game Boy?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so we would do the hookup. We'd have the little wire hooked up. We'd be seat to seat, and we'd do these Tetris and tournaments. And I'm telling you, there was nothing more funnier than when you're about to blow up the other person. And it just
beating Deion in Tetris. That's got to be fun.
That was before the ping pong tables in the locker
That's
room.
exactly right.
I
That's
love
exactly
that.
right.
That's
So
always
between that and fishing, Deion was one of the most passionate fishermen I've ever been. Oh my gosh. He would
So Deion,
a-
would he trash talk in fishing?
no doubt. Oh, no doubt.
That's such a funny visual, Deion, because you think of Deion like a flashy dresser. You don't think of him hanging out on a boat on a river, dominating fishing as well.
Hopefully, he wasn't loading up the fish with weights like those guys that were cheating in the Bassmasters.
Hey, listen. He got kicked out of more places that said no fishing here.
Really?
He went everywhere. Oh yes. We in spring training in West Palm Beach, we stayed at PGA Boulevard, and there's a bunch of lakes around the golf course. Well, he fished them out. Like he took them out. He took them home.
That's
I think
hilarious.
his mom. I think his mom. Now, bass in a golf course with a lot of fertilizer. I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd
would've
be
been
eating that, but
You know, there's lead in the ocean.
we would go with bobbers and shiners, and the running statement would be, I got action. And then as soon as he would nail a fish, oh my goodness. So we had that kind of time and that kind of fun. And look, in 1992, Deion was going to win the MVP of the World Series had we won against Toronto. He was playing two sports at the time. He was playing with a fractured foot. And I'm going to tell you something. We loved him. I know there was a lot of controversy sometimes with some of the teams or some of the things he might have said, but there was no controversy with him playing two sports and playing for us. It was more general manager and him controversy, not team. And we couldn't get enough of Deion.
No, Deion's one of those guys, like, as I've gotten old, as a fan growing up, I'm like, oh, he's so flashy. But then as you get older, you're like, man, every teammate that played with Deion was like, he was a dog. He worked his butt off. Like,
no one who
guy
played with him had a problem with his flashiness, which tells you how awesome he was, right? Like, and the competitive stuff, that's what, if there's one thing I've learned from talking to folks who've competed at the highest level, they don't just compete at that level in whatever. Like we were just talking to Jeremy Roenick yesterday, talking about Michael Jordan and gin.
Yes.
Like it's just when you gotta win, you gotta win. So yeah, good transition back to your golf career here. But I could imagine it turns into a little bit of almost like an addiction, right? Like golf is that perfect. I'm a competitor. I'm competing against myself, and I can do it every day.
Yeah, the beauty of it for me is this: in a team sport, I love being a teammate, right? I love being part of a team sport. But golf's all about you. It's about you and Mother Nature, and there's nobody to bail you out, and there's nobody to blame. And so, from an individual moment, and in every day that I step on the course, I think this might be the day I shoot my low round. And as I get older, I'm inching closer to wanting. My goal is to shoot 66 when I turn 66, and then shoot my age the rest of life. That's how consumed I am with the game of golf because it's the only competitiveness I have left. And the beauty of golf is you're in a place where nobody kind of bothers you. No one runs up, gets your autograph, and your buddies want to beat your brains in. So I love our matches. I think I averaged somewhere between 45 and 54 holes a day during the shutdown and COVID, when that's all you could do is play golf.
Yeah.
And that's probably where my hips went to bone on bone, but it was fun. And it was, I can't get enough of it. I'm not satisfied with 18 holes. Let's put it that way.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I mean that's great to just have that drive.
That's me and betting on the game.
Well, Ryan, I was trying to do the math of how long I would have to live. I mean, they're
to
making,
shoot your age.
Yeah, they're making a lot of advancements in medical technology. Yeah. I mean, maybe we get if I can hit 115, that's probably.
I've
been
been in the
have
70s twice in my life, and both of those times were extreme luck. Like happened on the course that day.
You need a couple crazy kicks here or there. Yeah, John, appreciate you calling in. Before we let you go, we haven't really talked much baseball. If you had I know it's early in the season, but who do you any long shots, any teams you like to win the World Series coming up here?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot been made about where I am right now in Texas, right?
Yeah.
Texas had done a lot in the offseason, and could they be that long shot that in a tough division in the American League? If their pitching stays healthy, I like their chances. I mean, they've got really stout pitching, and their offense seems to be more than adequate. But that's the key in baseball. It's about health. You know, Atlanta Braves got a great pitching staff. New York Mets, if they stay healthy, it's a battle for the East. The West is going to be a battle between basically two teams. So when everything evens out, it's early in the year. 162 games kind of makes hot starts become irrelevant. If in the old adage in baseball is you're going to win 60 and lose 60. It's the 42 in between that separates the rest of the teams.
Yeah.
And that's really kind of the general rule. And the teams that win world championships are the team that have the best pitching, and they don't they don't strike out. So I like what Texas did. I'm a little concerned that they don't, if they can stay healthy in the rotation, then it's going to be a really, really good year. We've seen you don't have to win the division to go deep in the World Series, but it helps to win your division and get seeded that way. So far the new rules, I'm in love with the new rules. The game is crisper, there's more action. We're going to see athleticism again. And I think for the sport desperately needed something like this to get it back on track, because the game and the players were learning to play too slow and the action was minimal, and we've got more action now.
Oh, it's great to hear you say that. And honestly, I think your stolen base tally would have been 5 or 6 with the new bags. So
for sure.
Couple bags, yeah, sure. And you can only get a couple pickoff attempts.
Right.
Look out, Ricky Henderson, John Smoltz, coming for you. Well, John, appreciate you calling in, and best of luck, of course, in the Invited Celebrity Classic. We're rooting for you to take down Tony Romo. So thanks, John. Appreciate it.
You got it, guys. Thanks for having me.
Big thanks to Smoltzy for hopping on the show. I feel like we can call him Smoltzy, Ryan. Got a couple of chuckles in there with our buddy Smoltzy.
I would be very nervous to play golf with him.
Oh my God.
That's more than a hobby.
No, he is. You can tell
he's getting hips put in to play golf better. That's awesome. You can
tell he still has that competitive edge. The way he was talking about his game, the way he was talking about, I got negative swing thoughts, I got to get rid of those. Like it's not just a hobby. He's still playing it as a competitor. I would almost be more scared to play with Smoltz than Tiger Woods, because Tiger Woods, I could write it off as a joke, but Smoltz, he seems like a guy. You got to be focused. You got to be dialed. You got to be playing better. I feel like I would be I'd be the guy like hacking through the woods, driving him crazy.
Also get the sense that he's like my kind of shit talker. Just like matter of fact statements. Like no screaming, no post shot celebrations.
Nah,
just
he keeps it real.
Hey, be careful of that. Be careful of that hill over there. Shit, now the hill's in my head.
A lot of fun talking to John Smoltz again. Draft week is coming. Make sure you subscribe. Smash! That subscribe button, youtube.com/sportsgamblingpodcast, and our draft contest. It's going to be exclusively in the Discord there. Stay tuned. We got XFL picks. We just did that episode. NFL or NBA picks. Check that episode out as well.
Thank you for participating in the Sports Gambling Podcast.
For the Sports Gambling Podcast, I'm Sean, stacking the money green, and he is Ryan.
I do think maybe I could take him in a race.
Kramer, let it ride.